When we were at the final year at the Abeokuta Grammar School, the school had sent out forms for us to get registered and get our parents to pay £7 10 shillings for registration to do WAEC. I was a USC scholar, so they were not supposed to have given me this form. So I took one as well. And I had seen the Alina 35X in Lagos, and it was going to cost something like £9. So I just changed £7.10. I just changed it to £9.10, and I sent it to my father in Lagos. And my father, being experienced in accounting or worked for USC as an accountant, saw it and he was curious why USC should send, why they should send him this form. After all, I was a USC scholar, they were supposed to have paid. So what my father did was, usually he's thorough. So he bought postal orders and addressed it to the school. So one day, the school bursar sent for me, and he said, "How did you get this form?" I said, "Well, they gave me one and I filled it and I sent it home." And the man said, "But there's something else. Why is it £9.10? Why?" I said, "I'm Oyi. Oyi." Yes, sir. Till today, if that man were alive, I would go and dobale for him because he knew me. I was good. So why would I do that? And I told him, I said, "Excuse sir, I have a camera on, and I need the money to buy it." Mr. Barrister gave me the money. That was the end of the matter. And so I rushed to Lagos and bought a 35X.
Àìrìnjìnà láìra bùkẹ́ ọ̀kẹ́rẹ́, ibi abádé la máa ríran dé.
I was employed in 1970 by the former Western Nigerian Television, WNTV, WNBS, as a trainee cameraman. I needed to be in television because that was the only way that I could get trained in motion picture production. I'd spent some time, in fact, throughout my secondary school days as an amateur photographer and got apprenticed in Lagos with Dr. Kubanjo Studios as a photographer. But again, I was pulled by the cinema because suddenly the idea of moving images appealed to me more than the single frame at a time that I wanted to do. So after a rigorous test system, I was employed, and once I walked into the television, I felt at home, and for me, that was my world. My career can date to that time. I had the benefit of being close to the cameras I had dreamed of, suddenly, and because of my scheduled professional training at Western Nigerian Television, by the way, mentored by great African broadcast managers and professionals. So I started small, and then within 2 or 3 years, I had mastered up to an extent, providing filming, social diaries, news coverages, and then sports, and then documentaries, and then drama inserts, So after about 3 years, I was posted to Lagos office, to send in filmed images, events, news, and sports principally. So once I got out of television, I teamed up with Wale Fanu. We started a company, Cinecraft, Independent Films and Associates in Surulere. And so we had become independent. And we were doing, filming commercials, covering events and things like that. And at this time, the wave of independent film productions was going on, and that is with traditional theater practitioners who had gone into television, were beginning to produce films. And Walifano and I had managed to acquire the 16mm camera, to work with. And so the big movies were done in 35mm, but the independents, we shot most of those films. So we were on a project filming Anikura in Iwo, at that time by the Ayobola brothers. When Lola Fanikaode came back from university in Boston, and she was brought to Iwo and we had the chat. Apparently, she had a class, sort of a project, which was Mirror in the Sun. And she had approached us for technical service on that film. So we started Mirror in the Sun with NTA. NTA, of course, was in some kind of arrangement with Lola Fanikaode. Walifano, we are friends, but we are gifted in different areas. For instance, Walifano, is gifted. First of all, he loves machines. And then he has a better business sense than I have. So I want to be a producer, to use those tools to tell a story. Sometimes now, without really thinking about how much I will make, things like that. So I suspect that I needed that bit more control, over those projects. And that's why we had to start being friends, although Walifano and I we were still friends even after that. And I was welcome to use the equipment and services that we had in Cinecraft at that time.
In going into Tkelani Frequencies, world, I thought that the person of Anamelia was really ambitious. So I wanted to do Motherless Baby, which I found very fairly simple narrative, and so on. And then the process I got to making it was I got the material of Tkelani Frequency. The first time I met him, I said, in his Obielegba house, I said, "Yes, young man, what can I do for you?" I said, I want to acquire your book to make a film. He said, "Get out of here. You are not serious. What do you know? You don't know what you are talking about." I first of all said, primarily I'm interested in the passport of Malamulia. I said, "Now I know you don't know what you are talking about." At that time, he told me that, no, the right is $3,000, and so something like that. So I said, well, okay, I'm just kidding. I want Motherless Baby. In fact, he said something like you had been acquired by Olabalade. I never checked. So we parted and I went away. But later he got to know me, we became sort of friends. And then he would challenge me and he said, "Tunde, you are lazy young man, you know that." I said, "Is it because I talked about money?" No, go and do it. Go and do what you want to do, So, but I chose Lola Fanikaode to write the screen adaptation, and I thought she was doing well, and one morning she had actually typed maybe 70 pages of this. And one morning I got there and she threw it in my face and said, "No, I can't continue with this." Why? Anti-feminism or something. It's not something to women. I said, but I'm just paying you to just do this for me. I don't care about all those stuff and so on. But somehow she meant it. I know she stopped, so I never got back to doing it.
So Lola Fanikaode had a project. It was supposed to be maybe a graduation project, Mirror in the Sun. And she had approached NTA for partnership. And they came to us for technical service on the project. For me, it was not too different from making a film, because that was the first time we were taking a TV drama out of the television system and taking it on location like a regular film and employing a single camera approach, which is just like film, But in doing that, we had to appropriate the technology and take control. So we had a whole 4-flat building in Aja in Badagry. And to bring it under control, we did crazy things. For instance, to put the lighting under control, I tarpaulined the whole building from top to bottom to control the light. And then, since it was single camera production, it was the same with what we used for making film, except the camera was different. So instead of the film camera, we put a video camera on it. And that was how Mirror in the Sun was born and produced. So in a way, it suggested what was to come. So maybe there are one or two other projects. In fact, I remember we still did another project with Lola Fanikayode. No, because specifically the question to me was, I wanted to make film. So why did I do this? And I said, well, perhaps it's not the first one, but the one I know in Lagos, yes. For me, it was easy. In fact, the Cockeradon was originally filmed with film. But we were appropriating the technology. Instead of putting a film camera on that, we put a video camera, and we cut a single, sort of single system, like that. The thing is that I knew that to make the location, to put it under technical control, we had to be able to control the light. So if we didn't do that, and we started the scene when there was daylight, and before we completed it was dark, then we lost the day, we had to wait for this. So what we did was to shut out the daylight. And what we did was to find sort of a tarpaulin system that cut out the light. But it was a tall building, and we did it all the way from the top to bottom. And then if we needed to light for day, we lit outside of the windows. And if it was night, we took away the lights from the windows so we could put this under control. In essence, that meant we could walk any time of the day. And that was the technical approach to Mirror in the Sun. In any case, when the time came for the opportunity to make my first film after London Film School, I had read Adebayo Faleti's Idamokpa Mi Kailu. And I felt it was time to do that story because it appealed to me, because these are all cultural conflicts, you see. So I already had a partner, Wale Fanu, but essentially because it was going to be low budget, so I thought the only way I could get the material without paying for it is to ask Adebayo Faleti to co-produce it. So that meant, I didn't have to pay. And Adebayo Faleti had a partner, Alhaji Amsa Lasisi, who was the chief cameraman and my boss when we were at the Western Nigerian Television. Okay, so that means I had a partner, Wale Fanu. Adebayo Faleti had another partner, Alhaji Lasisi Oriekun. So now we were four. And then it was during one of our sessions that Adebayo Faleti suggested that maybe we should have someone to oversee the whole project, and suggested Yemi Farombi. Now, Yemi Farombi, of course, is one of my mentors when I was in Western Nigerian Television. So it was opportunity to be back in the fold with all Ibadan-based, people coming together. But before we got started on Idamokpa Mikaelu, which we later titled Iwa, Adebayo Faleti had been appointed as director of MAMSA in Oyo State. So that meant that he couldn't be on the project. So we brought Lola Fanikayode in to write the adaptation and then to direct the film. After all the alliances, what we needed was money, because we have stretched everything. We have so far got away with everything, but we still needed the cash element to do it. So it was Alhaji Lasisi Oriekun who solved the problem because he knew his brother who could give us the money or invest the money, and he introduced us to Rashidi Adiwolu Ladoja, who instantly gave us the money. So that's how Iwa was made. But it's interesting that later Ladoja was to fund me to start Mainframe Productions. Of course, he became the governor of Oyo State. So that's how the relationship went at that time. I can even start with after my experience after Iwa, which prompted me to start Mainframe Productions. Already, I think we had too many cooks. We had about 5 or 6 people on this thing. And at the end of the day, I realized I didn't have control over what I needed or originally started with. And so I realized after that experience that in working as an independent, especially in low budget environment, sometimes you need certain controls. The decision making is faster, if you had control, because you have to deploy the available resources in the best way to achieve. Basically that's why I felt okay. So by the time we got to Oleku, the story was not much different, and incidentally, along with the technology was sometimes desire, for instance, to bring young people into the production. When we did Oshegbe, it was set in Ife. So we had students from the OAU University working with us, and so on. But when we did Oleku, it was set at the University of Ibadan, almost exclusively. So we had students from that institution, joining us on the production. Technically, I don't think things have changed much from the same analog video. But as the thing is to pay more attention to the story and the demands of the story and the details that we need to do. Oleku was set back, so we had to try and match in terms of the props and of that time and settings. But by the time we got to Shaurede, the first set of DV camera, DV cam came much after DV, so we purchased a camera that was called DVC 9000.
Nísìn ìbúra lọ́kàn kọ́ ọmọ wí bí n bá ti ń wí o.
Ẹ̀ẹ́dó díẹ̀ náà bàbá.
Èwo ni ti gbogbo ìlú àdá omi ẹ̀fun tẹ́ ẹ kó kalẹ̀ wọ̀nyí. Gbogbo rẹ̀ ló so mọ́ àdéhùn ìpìlẹ̀ tó so Jogboro tá a fi tẹ̀lú Jogbodo. Okùn tó yí ti ń bẹ nínú àdó dẹ yìí. Òun ló so Adédè pọ̀ mọ́ Sáwórodé. Òun náà ló sì so Àyàngalú pọ̀ mọ́ gbogbo wọn. Okùn kan yìí náà ni ó sì sòwò ọba tuntun tó fẹ́ jẹ pọ̀ mọ́ gbogbo wọn. Tó bá ti búra tí mo sì sin ọ nígbẹ́rẹ́, èmi gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹlẹ́rìí láàrin gbogbo yín. Ó yá.
Bàbá Amáwo, ẹ mọ yọra yín lẹ́nu rárá. Èmi ò ní búra kankan, n ò sì ní sín gbẹ́rẹ́.
Èèwọ̀ àgbọ́rú ẹ̀rí. Èèwọ̀ ni.
Nothing but what we did is I bought 2 attachments, a wide angle lens attachment and a long focal length, which I could screw in front of the camera to give, maybe a wider picture and things like that. And then we got our portable Jeep, we could go up and down, and improve on those things. And sometimes to change the color of something, I had a set of different cards in different colors, So if I wanted to make the picture be warm, instead of doing the white balance on what they call white, I probably would put something that is bluish, so the picture would be warmer, things like that. But the problem is, it still could not be edited. Tunde Adegbola, who is a consultant on engineering, had found a system in Germany which he thought could do A and B roll DV. And so we invested in it, brought it back, and it never worked. You will know. In fact, later, Tunde Adegbola was to meet the manufacturer at that time, and they apologized. That they couldn't. The software, there was something, a bug or something in software, so it never was. So we were back, to analog A and B editing. By the time we got to Thunderbolt Magnum, Tunde Adegbola had perhaps installed our first editing system, and it was a semi. We have linear. The analog editing we were doing before was linear, in which case we just kept going. If we made a mistake, we had to start all over again. But we had invested in division, and Tunde Adegbola had brought in what we call a semi-non-linear editing system, in which we could review the edit, and the system can go back and use the time code to reprint. So it was, things were getting better. So it was semi-analog at that time, because we were still controlling. This is a computer controlling an A and B roll system. So we tried a non-linear editing system that was computer-based in division, but again, it never worked. So that's how we managed to continue. So by the time we got to Agogo Ewo, the new upgrade to DV300, Sony DV3 had been acquired, and Dr. Raymond Dokpesi in AIT loaned us a DV500. It was a DVCAM 500, at that time for Agogo Ewo. By this time, I suspect we had gone completely into non-linear editing. And again, it was there's this DVCAM tape that is rolling in the camera, and they had to be captured into the computer for, editing. So when we got to the Campus Queen, we used the same system. It was DV500, DVCAM 500 for the Campus Queen. Anyway, by the time we got to the technology had improved a lot. To cut a long story short, by the time we got to Mami, for instance, the technology had improved all around. The computers were more powerful. In fact, I had, since Thunderbolt, I found a system where, I could capture the images directly from the camera into the computer. And this gave me a better workflow, in the sense that I could predetermine which takes were good, which ones were not going to be useful. I could decide to save it or delete it, and so on. So we became really efficient, at working. So working in low budget environments, that we had to be efficient in the sense that whatever resources are available were efficiently deployed, and we got the best.
Nigeria today has about 35 cinemas. And from that, it's interesting because America has something like 40,000 screens. So Nigeria has 35 cinemas. Maybe some of them are, in the multiplex. In the malls, there are probably 5 or 6 screens. So altogether, if we add all that, maybe Nigeria will have something like 100 and something screens. Now it's interesting, you look at 40,000 screens compared to Nigeria 100 and something screens. But what's of interest, is that the people giving the figures later say that every year for 2015, we were grossing in the cinema something like 2.2 billion. And then in 2016, we increased to maybe 2.4 billion. But then 2017, they said finally we had reached something like 4.4 billion in naira in gross taken from the cinema. What was of interest to me is, for the 4.4 billion, what is the share of the producer? And the answer is, from the 4.4 billion, the share of the producer is 700 and something million naira. Then if that is the case, what is the percentage sharing, of the producer, from from the chain? And I'm told that the producer has 35% of that chain. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that the producer, in his 35%, if he gets it, must first of all has to recoup the cost of the production. Before you can say whether the producer got anything or nothing. So all those figures are figures, but realistically, you need to talk to the producers. What is their experience? What they got? If they made the money back? If they paid the loans? Now, the interesting part of it is to be in that class, you have to make a certain type of movies. Of course, entertainment must be in the movies, but most of it has to be action movies, and it has to be either maybe comedy movies. And then you have to put a lot of advertising money behind it. So in other words, most money grossing movies in Nigeria in 2017 that made the 4.4 billion naira are only 5 of them. Wedding Party 2. Before then, it used to be Wedding Party 1. And then after Wedding Party 2, then it's Wedding Party 1. And then the third one is Trip to Jamaica, which is AY movie. The fourth one is AY movie. The fifth one is AY movie. So if you look at that, what kind of movies do I want to make? Of course, it is supposed to be business and entrepreneurial and all that. But for me, look at my background. I don't think I'm the kind that will look for a film where I'm interested in, is it sexy enough? How many buildings we are going to blow up? Or how many explosions are we going to have in it, and things like that. Of course, that's all a formula. You can do that, where you can tell interesting stories, exciting stories, and put all those elements in it. But, is that all? Maybe I'm just sentimental. Maybe I should not be thinking this way. If you look at my track record and trajectory, and you look at the 4 conscience films, the 4 conscience films strictly are Shaworode, Agbegbewo, the Campus School, and Aruba. By extension, we can add, Koshegbe is a conscience film also, and things like that. And from what the film I've made, and you said, for instance, if you look at CD of Ilujile that I just made adapted from Professor Newcastle, I don't think that is a material for those malls. So I will lose my base because I've been recognized as someone who works within a cultural experience, as someone who works with books. So those are not considerations. If I approached any of the users with any of them, they will throw it out. I will say, no, listen, you can go and lecture in university, please. Don't come here. We are making serious money here. And we don't have time for all those moralizing or whatever you are saying or doing. So it's good. But I believe, again, we can create a cultural economy and a cultural cinema.
You didn't mind me working here on weekends to get the contract. You didn't mind me missing my mother's birthday. You didn't mind me attending every single meeting with
from the time I met Lala and we
movie,
started talking about Jasmine, it took 2 years, of preparation before we finally had Green. But during this time, she had completely, walked into the character. And she has her own way, apparently she has, friends she could call on, and she has a way of preparing herself for the event. She was also very intense. She came to location and arrived before anyone, and she's called in her car, just waiting for work to start. So I'm really not surprised that people believed her. There's no doubt about it.
I clinched the RLG account, sir.
Excellent job indeed. But you know what? I'm going to have to take you off that.
Look, sir, I apologize for what happened at the meeting, and I can assure you that
This is business and not charity. And we can't take any chances on the delivery of that account.
Kule Afolayan already was born into a family, of performers and producers and exhibitors, so she's already in the system, so perhaps all he needed was just a nudge or an opportunity to show what. If you are referring to Shawarode, no, let us just bring it forward. Let's bring things forward, because we cast Kule Afolayan and Lala together. And the comment generally is that Kule Afolayan's role in Dancing Mira confirms Kule Afolayan as a convincing actor. And people said that it was in Dancing Mirage that she really came out and his talent in acting, showed.
My advice is you look for opportunities in a different firm and different field where there are jobs with less stress.
Let me get this straight. You didn't mind me staying here and straining myself to get the contract.
I know Kule Afolayan is so versatile that Kule can do anything. Kule, has great imagination, and commitment to anything he wants to do, and he's going to do it his own way. The hardest route, the most expensive, because he sets goals, for himself, and he tries to even surpass it. Our relationship is more than that. In fact, I didn't recognize him as Kule Afolayan. I know he's, of course, it must have been some time when I saw him now, Kule Afolayan. And he came saying he's an actor, and I said, no, don't let's start with that. I'm much more interested in you as a person. How about education? What do you have to do? Then I realized, no, wait, you have to go to school, you have to continue your education, and then you have to get a job. So he fulfilled those two conditions and started a part-time program at Last Tech or something like that. So, and between that, we had a long time, we had time getting, just sort of showed him what I do, watch movies and so on. But already he was more equipped than that, because, I refer to Kule as a look, Kule is number one Oniranu because he knows everybody's music. He knows the lyrics from Apala to Sakara to hip hop to Indian movies, Indian songs and so on. And not only that, he knows all those Indian movies, he knows the actors, the stars, he knows their music, so Kule is always watching or listening to them. And then he's sometimes an impromptu musician himself. If he finds a microphone, at any event, idol, he picks the microphone and the musician back him, So Kule is different. I mean, he's in a world of his own. Also today I knew, and the story demands is a union of two people, young people, one Yoruba, one Igbo. And I went with Osotule without any hesitation. And I just say, I say that that's one of her best performances in anything.
ẹ̀lẹ́ ká ṣòro.
Bàbá, ó ṣòro. Ẹ kú rí gbogbo ohun tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ láàrin ìlú. Gbogbo àwọn ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ wa ló ń bẹ lẹ́wọ̀n. Àárọ̀ ìyá láàárọ̀ yìí, wọ́n tún sì mú oníròyìn kan tì mọ́lé.
Lóòótọ́ ni bàbá. Ṣé bí ẹ mọ iye àwọn àgbẹ̀ àti ẹgbẹ́ ọmọ ọdẹ tó wà lẹ́wọ̀n?
Ipa wa fẹ́ pin. Àkúrẹ́ lè máa wòran báyìí. ẹ fún wa nímọ̀ràn kí la tún lè ṣe.
Well, he's a good actor anyway. He had the reputation and he was doing well and he looked right. What I'm saying is he doesn't have to be unless he fits the demand of the story. And for me, he fitted. At that time, he could do it. And so it was not, if it's around, then that means he can multitask. He was already in mainframe, and so it was just convenient. No, again, for me, it's not a question of risk or anything. I will respond to what the story needs best. I don't, if for instance, a Shekiri person or Yoruba person plays an Igbo part, but when it comes to the Igbo speaking part, what is going to happen? So you need to take into consideration all those things. You might learn a few lines of dialogue to convince people that you are Igbo. But there are other nuances, about the Igbo that you might not. Your body may not be expressing. So I don't risk that. I'm not that desperate to do that. That's why I can use phrases or no phrases and so. For instance, for me, it was fairly in Sidi Ilujile, my latest movie. I didn't even have time, to try. It's a bit tough finding that class of acting, in material that is literary, So generally you can, throw ladies into all this part that just demand that they talk, but you need the discipline of somebody who has been on stage, because the source material itself demands that, because it's a play. So Sidi Ilujile, you might look at it, you say you can't really fix it, because I might look at it, why? It looks like, it doesn't look cinematic, No, it doesn't, because it's a play, so you can say it's a film theater, or you can say, well, you could have done well on stage, but then it's it's a film. It's a mixture of film. Then if you can talk about the dialogue, no, it's poetry. Most of it is poetry, so it has to be like this and things like that.
So today, kí ló dé? Aṣọ òun náà ni mo ró sókè tí mo fúnlé débi wípé mo fẹ́ má lè mí mọ́.
So the film is the most important thing anyway. The story is the most important thing. Young people think that once they have a camera, they have a YouTube account, then what else do you need? And they really think that they are so smart that they don't need that any kind of experience. So, first of all, what story are you going to tell? That's important. What is the story saying? For instance, if I told you about the trilogy of Shawode, Agogo Ewo, but you see, there's going to be a third one, which is Inyo Isuru. Inyo Isuru is about change in a sense that, okay, so we decided to eat pounded yam, so we got pounded yam, but discovered that, oh God, we used a wrong yam to pound it, and so on like that. So they need to really come into their own in telling those stories. In fact, the worst thing is they are not even reading. That's the possibility. How can you be a filmmaker without reading? You need to read these things. You don't have to start from ground zero. None of them have read any author they know, and they can recognize, and they can use some of the pattern or borrow from it or extend it, or add value. Look at Mami, for instance. That's why when I work with the writers, I'm really, really excited to have done Mami, in the sense that in the text, the adult Kashi boy is not in that book. We created that. So we created another story that can be republished. And so on. So you have to have several starting points any of those points can trigger, your next film. So you can't start from nothing. It's not enough to know how to make movies without having a purpose for making the movie. It might be commercial. There has to be a reason. That's why I can talk about any of those films as if they are children, because there's a motivation from one to the other, and there's a progression also. So, and everybody else is valid, but young people, that is the point, because if I hold all the books that I've adapted for movies, and I've done it with a group of young people, and I say, let's do it how they do it in those houses of assembly and all that. So I said, look, if you have ever read any book I bring up, just say nay or I, and then when I say nay, 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 all the way, and then I say, well, the nays have it. You don't know anything. You have never read anything. So I don't understand what you study or what you do, but even reading for pleasure. So me, I'm a book person because of, my imagination. The thing I found so magical about film or the text is that you can dream as much as you like. Ó yẹ ká fi fẹ̀hàn síra wa bí ká fún ní bára lówó kọ́ ká rànra wa lọ́wọ́ kì í ṣe káwádà tọrọ jẹ ikú ògùn ló mi pa kíkanjú tódò ló mi ìpòmùwẹ̀ o màmá wí fún mi níjọ́sí wọ́n ní má ṣe kú kí o.